Sure. Hello there folks, and how is it going? And welcome back to another video, and welcome to the hills of central Portugal. Now, today's photographic subject is actually quite a special one because it's nestled in quite possibly one of the picturesquest of views that we have seen here in Portugal. It is absolutely marvelous. What did I just say there?
Marvelous.
That's a new word. Orla, you need to pan because it's wonderful. Now, the caveat to this gorgeous view, this is the castle of Lousã, and look at it, it's absolutely fantastic. You could swear you were in Ireland right now. It's so beautiful and it's so beautifully lit.
I just tried to zoom and it went up instead.
Amazing. What was I saying?
It's in
Lousã, Castle Lousã. Now, unfortunately, we arrived here, and as you can see, the road is just like pretty much knackered, which is terribly unfortunate because we can't really get onto this boardwalk where I was hoping to be able to stand to, you know, get a straight on shot. But sure, look, such is the way of things. We have kind of jumped the fence a little bit and we're standing on the wrong side of these bollards here. And this, where I'm standing right now, is probably about as clear a view as I can possibly get. Maybe we can sneak in a little bit more down the ways, but I don't want to take the piss too much. So right now there's some really, really beautiful light hitting the hillside, and we are just going to set up our gear real quick and just make sure we get a nice picture of the castle in the hillside with this beautiful light. So let's set up our gear. So we have to be really fast because for once there's actually clouds in the sky, so we might be able to take advantage of that by doing some really long exposures, which I really hope we can do because it could turn out very, very nicely. But the sun thankfully is actually setting through this valley, so we should get some like light, you know, for the next maybe 30 minutes or so before it completely goes. But I'm going to get my polarizer on really, really quickly because I want to use that to kind of, you know, bring out some of the kind of extra saturation that I know is hidden in there. So let's fetch the polarizer. And I did take a couple of test shots already. So I tell you what we'll do is that if the test shots and then the polarized shot turn out to be any good, I'm going to pop them up on the screen for you right now. Yeah.
Kase.
That's the wrong one. Welcome, friends, to the ASMR Photography Studio, and welcome to the first image in this week's video. Now, it's a castle in a hill. It looks awesome. I am super delighted with how this image turned out, and to be honest with you, for all of the images throughout this video that we're going to look at, there's not a huge amount, but really, really love this image. I think it's such a perfect representation of the scene. The castle is just so perfectly nestled in this wonderful valley, and it's so picturesque. I mean, pretty much the images kind of take themselves, I'll be honest with you, but overall really, really love the image. The beautiful light that's hitting the side of the hills and the castle, and then as it absolutely beautifully drops off into the deeper tones and the valley beyond is just such a wonderful, wonderful thing. So a beautiful start to such a wonderful day. Now folks, don't tell Kase or K&F, but I'm like totally bastardizing both of their systems here. I much prefer the screw-on filters, or at least the screw-on magnetic filters that the K&F have, and I'm using the Kase filters to put onto them. So thankfully my camera hasn't melted yet. I also need to get very used to the colouring system because I haven't done that. And so I think I really do need to learn this system. The clouds behind you?
Yeah.
Well, then it's perfect. So,
It's very bright on the trees though.
well, that's because the trees are very bright. Everybody, let's say thanks to Orla for her wonderful contribution to these videos. And sometimes she very much doubts her own abilities to press the record button on the little gizmo and set the exposure. She must, since breaking my main camera, Orla used to obviously use this camera all the time to catch us all of that wonderful shaky cam that you're also used to. And but since having no main camera, I have to use this, and thankfully we do have this gizmo, the Osmo Pocket, which is grand for kind of, you know, holding it out in vloggy style. It's a cool little gizmo, but in terms of kind of like trying to make these as kind of awesome as they can be, it can fall short a little bit. Anyway, that's a mad ramble for you. My next task now is to see about popping on as many filters as I can put on and take as long of an exposure as I can possibly take. And let's see what we can do there. Oh look, there's like a village and everything hidden up there too. And actually what we might try and do is look at, I might put the 100 to 400 on later on too, to zoom in, because Orla and I are trying to figure out whether the backside of the hills that you can see were hit by the fires that were in this area recently. So I'm going to zoom in all the way there as well, because I'm curious to know, because they do look quite charred. But anyways, the aim and the task right now is to see if we can take a really, really long exposure. And let's see if we can introduce a few streaks into the sky. So, I am going to take a good few of these because I actually really like the results that I'm seeing on the back of the camera here. There's a bit of a blob, but it is breaking a little bit. Long exposures with clouds, you kind of want to have a bit of a gap between the actual clouds, just so you can kind of see that movement. If it's fully grey, for instance, it's just a big grey blob. And that's kind of what we're looking at here. Oh, we'll get my hand out of there. Kind of what we're looking at the moment. So I'm going to just keep taking a bunch. And if any of these turn out to be any good, which I hope they do, I'm going to pop them up on the screen for you right now. Here is the result of the long exposure. And like the previous image, it's just the same. I'm standing pretty much in the same place, but shot wider, obviously because I wanted to include the clouds, hence the long exposure. And I am super delighted with how this looks. It's such a dynamic feel to the frame, and one that I'm super duper happy with. Now I did add a bit of a heavy kind of vignette in post-production, just because I wanted to kind of help the eye be drawn to that castle and not so much kind of to the right of the frame. It's quite a classic rule of thirds kind of image, but really, really super delighted with how I framed this image. And you know, one of the beautiful things about long exposure images like this is that the light, the sun, essentially just light paints the landscape. And I've always loved that about long exposures in landscapes like this. So overall, really, really delighted with how this particular one turned out. And you know, as a good example of long exposures with clouds and fun things like that, I'm really, really happy with how it turned out, and would absolutely encourage anybody who has the means to go and try, you know, photograph long exposures with clouds, because it adds such a unique perspective and a unique kind of dynamism to the frames that you can ultimately capture. So onwards we go, my friends. So folks, we have moved from our first spot, and I'm really, really glad that we did, because the vantage point that we're actually looking at right now is much nicer. It's a lot kind of more front on to the castle, and we can actually see a little bit more of it. And then we've been here for ages. I'm going to pop up the time lapse that Orla took, and you will see through that time lapse, as wonderful as it was in the back of the preview, how the light has been changing. And I've just been stacking my filters, taken many different kinds of exposures. Right now I'm at 2.5 minutes, almost 3 minutes, which I'll stop now. And So it's just been so great, and it's just been wonderful just watching the light evolve. And thankfully it's actually gonna, we still have probably at least another hour of light. So we might wait for it to just kind of mellow itself out a little bit more, and then just take one or two last pictures. And but then we'll go over to the castle though, and I'll take the little video camera with me, and we'll just have a quick little walk around the castle. It's only a very small castle. And so if any of these really long exposures turn out to be any good, I'm going to pop them up on the screen for you right now. So in an effort to keep this video a little bit shorter, I discarded quite a lot of mad ramblings. You know, I do love a good mad ramble, but a lot of it was quite mad and rambling, so nobody wants to hear me talking like that. But this is the result of like a really long exposure. This is probably about 4 minutes of an exposure. And again, like that previous one that we were just looking at, it's just such a wonderful way to add this unique kind of feel to a frame. And it's almost like vortexing, if you will, from the top left and spiraling us into the frame. And again, it's just the light on the land is just so gorgeous. And we've got that beautiful contrast of golden light in the foreground and the lovely blues in the sky. They act as such a wonderful natural contrast. And then moving on, I'm going to just kind of put all of these images together. This is the result of me finding frames off in the distance using the 100 to 400. I liked the idea of just trying to capture these abstract kind of images of the trees and the light that was side lighting them so beautifully. And here's another example of that as well. Just some trees nicely lit by the evening's glow, and one that I'm absolutely delighted with, this particular one as well. And then onwards we go to, this frame is the 100 to 400 image looking at the hills. Now this is just like I referenced earlier, I just put this in here just kind of for my own sake, and just it's kind of a bad example of the land and how it was affected by the fires. You can really see how badly burnt it was. But then on a kind of a happier note, as we were walking back to the car, the sunlight was just, oh my God, it was such a beautiful sunset. Unfortunately, all of this gorgeous light that you see in this frame wasn't over the castle at all, but I'm super delighted that I stopped and just to admire this gorgeous sunset and then to photograph this frame. I really love the diagonals coming in from the right and from the left, and then of course that wonderful golden glow as it absolutely bathes the valley in light. It's such a beautiful sight to behold. So overall, really happy with how these images turned out, and yeah, such a wonderful place to visit. As short a hop as it was from where we live, it was such a wonderful place to explore. So super duper delighted with how all these images turned out. So folks, I think we shall leave it here for this evening. What an absolutely wonderful turn of events this has happened to be. We kind of came out here blind, thinking we were going to go look for waterfalls, and then saw the viewpoint of this castle, and it was like, sold. That's the one right there, and it was absolutely fantastic. Like I said earlier, very reminiscent to something you would see at home, which is wonderful. So quite nostalgic. So anyways, this week's video is sponsored by Orla and myself. If you're any way inclined into any of the services that I have or the workshops that I am running next year and beyond, you're most welcome to have a look at the links down below. And if you fancy joining along, you're most welcome to get in touch with me if you have any questions or concerns about any of that. But for now, yes, I'll sign off as briefly as I can because the light is fading quite rapidly. So if you like the video, folks, do please hit that like button. And of course, as always, if you fancy following along for more adventures like this one, you are most welcome to hit that subscribe button. But for now, I will see you all on the next one. Take it easy, everybody. Cheers.